Hello, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use a layer mask to brush through a layer um, that is underneath another one so that it shows through. So we're going to do it with an architecture based photograph as the bottom layer, and then just some simple shapes on the top layer, and then I'll take it from there. So the first thing we need to do is just go to File and New, and this time we're going to do our standard photo size, which is 10 centimeters by, sorry, 50, we're going to know the width 10, the height 15. So sometimes it's the other way around, but I tend to do a lot of photographs where they are 10 by 15, but they're portrait based, so that means they're higher than they are wider. And I think you've seen, or you might have seen a tutorial on this earlier, but all I'm going to do is double click on the background, make it into a layer, and then duplicate. I'm going to click on the rectangle tool. I'm going to make the fill just neutral grey. I'm going to make the stroke, which is the outline, black, and I'm going to just make it very small, just 10 points. And then I'm just going to do a design. So I'm just going to move that a bit. Back to the rectangle. I'm not going to name them or anything because it's just like a means to an end, really. When you do it, I would like you to think about your composition and you know, just take care about maybe your rule of thirds, or leaving that sort of enough negative space. Now what we're going to do is everything that is grey at the minute will eventually be the image that is going to be underneath, which is a photograph. So we do need to have enough of it actually, so I'm just going to do a big chunk of it down here. And I think that's okay. So what we'll do is we layer that, and then we will merge all the visibles. Now that is one layer. So I'm just going to go to File and Save As and call it Rectangles. Save as a JPEG, and I'm just going to save it on to desktop. Close that down, don't save. And now I'm going to open up a architecture photograph. So what's important is when you go to image and image size, it's got to be the same. So you need to save it 10 and 15, and the resolution needs to be 300, exactly the same as the design that you've just done. If it's not the same, it's not the same size, not the same resolution, then it's just going to be a bit more problematic, so it's easier to do it this way. So what you want to do now is you're going to go to File, and now I've got Place, and on your interface I'm sure it's going to say something like Place Embedded. okay? And you are going to place your design immediately on top. And then what you do is you tick. Now, at the minute, you can't see the design underneath, but if you go to opacity, then you can. So it may be that you want to change some of this, you want to make it bigger or smaller. I would just do it anyway, just to kind of practice, because you'll be using it later on the course, so you might as well practice. So this is what you do. Go to your background layer, you draw, see where the marquee tool is? Draw a marquee over it. You go to layer, sorry, you go to transform and scale, and then with your finger on shift, can you see you can make the image bigger or smaller? So let's make this slightly bigger so it fills up more of the design. So it's really important that you click off here before you release your finger off shift. Always take your finger off the shift button last, and then you can move it around. So at the minute, can you see there's nothing much going to be in here? That's going to be just kind of sky, but it should be around. I'm just going to maybe move it over. So now there's a bit more information in each of the little bits. So when you're happy with it, you tick it. You do Command and D. Okay, so I've just pressed Command and D to get rid of the little dots, little marching ants we call them, but the little kind of dashes and dots all the way around. And then what you need to do is you need to go back onto the top layer and make your opacity 100%, so you can't see it again. The next thing you need to do is go into your layer mask, which is here. So it's the little icon next to FX. It's got a little rectangle with a little circle in it. So click on that, and your layer mask appears, and click inside it. You must click inside here. And then this top box must be black. So we can either, if it's the blacks at the bottom, you can just click the double arrow, and that must be black on top, okay? And then what you can do is go into your, now at the minute it's a magic wand. Can you see this little magic wand? But we don't want magic wands, so if we just click a little arrow and get the quick selection tool instead, can you see it looks slightly different? And what you want to do is click and drag. Okay, so all I did, let's wait for a minute, is click, left click, and then dragged it. And what will happen is it'll recognise that that's one shape and it'll outline it. And then all you have to do is go to the brush. Just going to make the brush bigger. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing on my brackets. Okay, so the bracket keys, I'm pressing on the brackets to make it bigger. Now, can you see at the minute my opacity is at 100%. If I was to make that go lower, like say 30 or so, when I brush this in, it'll only bring it in at 30% of the opacity, so it'll be quite grey and misty. But that might be what you want, but in the future. But for now, for this task, I want it to be really sharp and clear, so I want it to be 100%. Okay. just making sure that I've brushed everything in. When I'm finished, Command and D to get rid of the marching ants. Back to the quick selection tool. Click and drag. Brush it in. Command and D. Quick selection. Click and drag. Command and D to get rid of it, and so on and so on. So let me just do this really quickly. Sometimes if you do it too quickly, it won't kind of recognize the lines, it'll go outside, so you just got to be a bit slower. So I'm just going to get rid of that, Command and D, and I'm going to do it far more carefully. This is proving a bit trickier than I thought. Let's do this one first then. Actually, if it is proving a bit tricky, because the bigger shape shouldn't be a problem, let's try it with the magic wand. Okay, sometimes magic wand is better, so we'll magic wand it. Brush. Command and D. Magic wand. Maybe this one little bit to go. Maybe this bits as well. So let's do that. And that's it, that's how you use a layer mask to bring through an image that is underneath through into shapes that is on the top. Now, if you were to put this onto your sway, you would lose the composition because you are putting white edges onto a white sway, and so you will lose the composition, so you'd never do that. So what you have to do here is layer, merge the visibles down, duplicate the layer, go to FX and stroke. This has to be inside. This can be one. Sometimes what you don't want either is really super thick outlines. You've got to remember, the thinner the outlines, the thinner the anything, The thinner the shapes, the thinner the outlines, the more sophisticated the look of the design. So always try, if you can, to make outlines as thin and unobtrusive as possible. So we're going to go for 1 pixel. Okay, and we will flatten that again. So I'm just going to change this background to, just going to go to white, and then you can see that there is a outline around it. So when you put it onto your white sway, it will act as a design. You know, it'll have a composition. It won't just blend and merge into the background. Okay, and then you just double check the sizing. So one last check: image and image size. Back to centimeters. That's fine. 10 by 15 is perfect. 300 pixels per inch, perfect. And file, and save as, and call it what you want. Save it where you normally save it to, so it's safe. Save it as a JPEG, and save. And that's it. That is the end of the tutorial.